Using TPR is exceptionally important in trial classes because it not only enables your students comprehensive input, but also makes your classes that much more fun and engaging. Both increase the effectiveness of your trial class and could eventually lead you to have more regular students. So, there are two different kinds of TPR that we'd like to recommend for trial classes. We have instructional TPR and educational TPR. Instructional TPR is used to give directions to a student in order to elicit responses. You use TPR, you incorporate TPR, so students will know this is what I'm supposed to do at this time. So, for example, I have a slide here that shows mom and dad, and you as the teacher, you want your student to respond after you, to repeat mom and dad. So, you can use an ear cupping gesture to show them that I want to hear you. So if I taught this slide, I would do it this way. I would first point to my mouth and say, Mom. This gesture shows them where to look. Mom. And then I would point to them. Now you try. I'm gesturing towards them to know that, okay, this is the instruction. It's your turn now. After I point, your turn. I'll cup my ear and I'll wait for them to respond. And I would do the same thing for dad. So the whole thing would look like this. Dad. Dad. Now you try. Good job! Way to go! And then I would properly respond and reward the student. Another type of instructional TPR you might want to use in your future trial classes is a I say, you circle. So just like I gestured to you before, saying that this is to gesture to the student, you can also use it for I say, but point to yourself. So on this slide here, we have 4 different pictures. And let's say as a teacher, I say, so the student knows to look at what I'm saying. I say, and I say a word, and then I gesture to the student, you circle, circle, circle. And I make a circular gesture with my hand to show them that they're supposed to circle as well. When you demonstrate this activity for the student, you can actually circle on the slide as well to show them that this is what you're looking for. So if I want the student to see or to circle, let's say I say to the student, I see mom and dad. That means I want the student to circle mom and dad. For educational TPR, we are going to break it up into 3 different parts. We have establishing meaning, we have comprehensive check, and then also as a prompt. For establishing meaning, we're going to give a gesture or emotion meaning so the student understands what we're doing. In this slide here, we have the phrase, he is blowing out the candles. You can make this slide easier to learn and more engaging for your student by incorporating TPR. So what I would do for this student is I would say, he is blowing out the candles. Blowing out the candles. And I would do a blowing gesture. That way the student will understand that means blowing, and in this case, blowing out the candles. For our other phrase, we have, they are cutting the cake. I would use a cutting motion or a cutting gesture to show that they are cutting something. They're cutting something. On the same slide, you can then ask the student to read the sentence. So in this case, it would be, he is blowing out the candles. And then you can check and see if the student understands what that really means by also showing the gesture for it, the TPR that is related to this concept. And if your student is able to do that unprompted, then that means he or she understands the content that's being taught. If the student is struggling or not showing that they understand what's going on, then you can use the TPR, the gestures that were just taught, that were just learned by the student, to help them understand what they're supposed to do, or to help them understand the content that's on the slide. So if you're asking the student to read, he is blowing out the candles, they know blowing out the candles is this gesture, but they don't remember how to read it, then you can start the student off by saying, he is, and then when the student shows signs of struggling, then you can show the gesture. And the student will think, oh, that's right, he is blowing out the candles, or they are cutting the cake. TPR is a great tool to use to help your student remember things that they might not have remembered. It could be on the tip of their tongue, but they just don't remember the words for it until they perform the action that is associated with that concept.